Welcome to Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, the big butch manly movie podcast that loves to kiss and tell. I'm Andrew Wheeler.
And I'm Shane Harlan.
This episode, we are discussing the 1996 action thriller from director Rennie Harlan, written by Shane Black and starring Geena Davis, Samuel L. Jackson, Patrick Malahide, Craig Bieco, and Brian Cox. Old friend Brian Cox at this stage.
Good friend.
We love, tolerate, enjoy Brian Cox's company.
All of the above.
So, this was one of the most expensive scripts ever made, the most expensive at the time, sold for $4 million. Shane Black was riding high off the Lethal Weapon series and a few other hit movies, Last Action Hero, which I don't think was a huge blockbuster, but, well, I think it was a bit of an underperformer. But he was certainly one of the most well-regarded and celebrated screenwriters at the time. Unfortunately, this movie didn't do so well, so he took like a 10-year break from movies after this. It's also the second and final collaboration between husband and wife Rennie Harlan and Geena Davis after the notorious bomb Cutthroat Island. This movie also bombed, just not quite as hard as that one. So all around, just bad news for everyone. It was also filmed in and around Toronto, where we record this podcast.
Yay!
And there was bad news for Toronto too, because the Heritage Building burned down.
No.
Oof.
No, not that hotel.
No, not the sleazy motel that they blew up. Or if that did burn down, but it was just a sleazy motel. There was another building that blew up by mistake or burned down by mistake.
I'm sorry.
And they claim
we're going to pause right there. How does a building burn down by mistake when making a film? You know what? I don't need to know.
I mean, I'm sure the insurance investigators could tell you. The movie tells the story of amnesiac homemaker Samantha Kane, who discovers she is in fact CIA assassin Charlie Baltimore, and
great Bond name.
Unfinished business for Charlie to deal with.
There certainly is. Wow. Let's start with our first reactions. This has always been on the list of movies that I've intended to see, but this was the first time I saw it. And I went into this thinking like, oh, I love a noir thriller. And that is not what I got. I got like a really straightforward action film, but I love Geena Davis. I love Samuel L. Jackson. And I mean, I've seen a Lethal Weapon and not the first. I didn't know they were written by Shane Black. The only real relationship I have to Shane Black is the film Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, which we watched pretty recently in our podcasting recording careers. And I was shocked to learn that he has a thing for Christmas, a real hard-on for it.
Yes, I'm glad you put that together because it is very well known at this point. Shane Black and Christmas. He wrote one of the Iron Man movies. It's also set at Christmas.
He wrote that Iron Man? Oh my God, man.
He has so many, like all his movies are weirdly Christmassy. I think he just finds it the most magical time of the year, maybe. The best time for an assassin. Yeah, it is one of his tropes for sure. And it was when we were talking about Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, the movie, not the podcast that you're now watching and liking and subscribing to. It was when we were discussing that movie that I discovered you hadn't seen this movie, which was one of my favorite movies when it came out. Like I watched this movie a bunch of times on DVD. That was a type of home entertainment system that we had back in the 90s.
Are you sure it wasn't VHS?
So, how dare you? Betamax. Laserdisc. I used to love watching and rewatching this movie, and I was really curious to see how it holds up because, movies you watched, let's say, 20 years ago? 30 years
Andrew,
ago.
30 years ago.
Movies you watched 10 years ago? The 90s
10 years ago. It was last year, right? I'm a baby. I'm just a baby.
I don't know. Yeah. You have a moment with a movie and then you forget it exists. And I thought, we have to go back and have to see how it holds up, whether I still like it at all. Because Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, when we rewatched, I rewatched and you watched for the first time that movie, didn't hold up for me. So I was curious to know how this one would fare.
I'm going to jump in here. I like this movie. I thought it was really fun. I mean, there are definitely things that don't hold up about it. We will talk about Samuel L. Jackson's obsession with ass loving, we'll call it, so that we don't get demonetized. Every male character punched Geena Davis in the face. So, those things were a little hard to watch. But for an action film with a femme fatale lead character, I feel like that's our bread and butter.
Yeah.
That was really fun for me, and the action was like really engrossing. I laughed genuinely a number of times, and I was really intrigued to see how this thing would turn out. Like I some of the movies that we watch, it takes me like 3+ hours to get through because I have to pause and walk away. And this one, front to back, like I paused to take notes, but that was it. Like I really enjoyed watching this film.
Yeah. I'm glad to hear it. Yeah, because I actually enjoyed this one a lot more as well. And I think a large part of that is the charisma of Geena Davis,
Yeah, for sure. And Samuel L.
how good
Jackson.
she is. And Samuel L. Jackson. Geena Davis, though, like playing the dual roles, she really
Mm,
delivers. Like
nailed
she
it.
really knows how to distinguish those two characters and to give you that journey that Charlie goes on from like sociopath to realizing that, oh no, there is actually a sensitive human side. Samantha was not fictional. She was just another plot of a character, and it's really beautifully realized, I think.
Yeah, agreed.
And the action's amazing. Like there's so many great action sequences that play into the concept of this movie, of this woman who is an amnesiac maker, who is, a loving mother and wife and chops the carrots and all of that stuff. And yeah, they played with that conceit of this woman who remembers how to be a killer assassin really effectively.
Yeah, there was so many good surprises for me. I really like how this is a film about reconciling the two sides of oneself. How
Yeah.
you can, like, sure, there's the settled down, I want a life, I want a family, a home, I want to, like, give back. But then there's the dark, dangerous side that wants to do bad things and
Hmm.
is murderous because we all have that in us, right? Right? But,
End quote.
right?
End quote.
But yeah, by the end, we get this like fully realized character who is like an assassin and a mother.
Yes. Yeah. She like her win condition is not to go back to being a simpering mum, but
Hmm.
this is not a movie that's saying really what she always wanted was to just be a mum, just be a mum. Don't get cancelled again. She wants to be fully herself, shall we say.
Yeah, I love that. I'm ready to talk about some specifics unless you want to.
Hmm.
Okay, great. Oh my God. What a way to start this film with maybe the darkest car crash in film history. Like,
Hmm.
we start off with a real bang. Like, we're at a Christmas party and she drives drunk uncle home and she nearly hits a deer in the middle of the street, a la Hereditary. And
Yeah.
the horror continues, just like Hereditary. She breaks this deer's neck while drunk uncle burns in the car crash. Surprisingly, the police just seem to let her go.
You're right.
Like, she
Yeah.
is home the next day. We've all moved on from this horrific accident. And that's when she learns that she's a chef.
Yeah. Some great lines around the chef thing where she does something ridiculous and she's like, chefs do that.
Yeah.
That pays off beautifully in the action sequence when the assassins come to the home. Yeah, it's a dark opening, a really beautiful like foreshadowing with the snapping the neck of the stag
Hmm.
to show that she's more than just a long-suffering housewife. Yeah, poor Uncle Perth. I guess the community didn't miss him very much.
No.
There aren't a lot of women in this movie, though. If we're talking about the women first and foremost, it's Geena Davis's movie, and she carries it, and her daughter is also a lead character in the movie. But there's not a lot of other women in there. Like there was an appearance by Melina Kanakaridis from
I'm going to get
CSI
snaps
Law and
for her.
Order, something. Yeah, she is so gorgeous. Like she's in this movie so fleetingly, in just like one opening scene establishing Samuel L. Jackson's character. And I think she's maybe on the end of the phone in other moments of the movie. But like,
Yeah,
I wanted to know her story. I wanted Melina to
same.
come back because like she's such an amazing beauty and such a great fun character actor. She could have, to be that like gum chewing PI's assistant character. She could have given us some great material.
Agreed. I thought she was funny when Hennessy. So there's like a honey
What a
trap
name.
situation. What a name. Hennessy is Samuel L. Jackson's character, and he sets up this honey trap with his assistant, Melina. I can't remember her name in the film itself, but basically he looks at the John and says, well, I would arrest you, but clearly you have no money because look at this sex worker that you paid for. And she just gives him the darkest eyes. Like, how dare you? How dare you? I am worth more than what this guy can afford. And she is, damn it.
She
She would
is.
be a beautiful sex worker.
Thank you. Someone's finally saying it. The Greeks make great sex workers, is what I'm told. So they've been
No
doing it
comment.
the longest.
Thought you were talking
Am I
about my
cancelled now
past.
by the Greeks?
Oh, I didn't mention I'm wearing my darkest gray sweater with a low cut in honor of this film. I just thought the
It's
people should
beautiful.
know. Thank you.
Beautiful. I
I'm
went
showing
with
off my cleavage.
gasp, but I'm sweating through it because it's so goddamn warm in this apartment.
I can't believe I'm wearing a sweater today, to be honest. It's like 20
You're not
degrees
wearing
again.
anything else.
Well, yeah, I guess you can't see what's below the camera.
I can imagine. So yeah, it's Geena Davis's movie. Geena Davis is phenomenal in it, and yet this ended up being like a nail in her coffin as a leading woman. Like she did not make another movie for years. Stuart Little was the only like, and everyone loves Geena Davis and Stuart Little. She got 3 movies out of that, I think. But like she was carrying action roles. She was, Rennie Harlan was trying to prove that women could be the leads in action movies. And he really tried with Cutthroat Island and with this. And the audiences were like, I don't know, not
Just can't
sure.
see a woman doing this. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah. And even when this film was being made, the studio was like, couldn't get Sylvester Stallone or Steven Seagal to play
What?
the housewife, the amnesiac assassin.
I
And I think
mean,
Shane Black was like,
honestly,
you paid me $4 million.
I would love to see a world in which Sylvester Stallone marries a man, wakes up from an amnesia 2 months pregnant. Yeah. That would be an incredible career journey for him.
If Schwarzenegger can do a male pregnancy movie, why can't Stallone?
So can Stallone.
You know?
Yeah, agreed.
So yeah, it's a real sad indictment of us, of Hollywood and of the audience, that this movie led to a downturn in Davis's career. And she said, up until the end she made this movie, I made roughly 1 film a year. In my entire 40s, I made 1 movie, Stuart Little. Wow. I mean, this is a gorgeous, talented woman with charisma to spare. And we were just like, yeah, you're 40.
Goodbye. That's so sad. Yeah, Geena Davis was on our screens constantly as children for you and I, and I guess you into adulthood a little bit. But I mean, she was ever present. She was in like everything, and she was such a familiar face. I mean, A League of Their Own was a touch point for me into watching dramatic films, and she carries that. And she had been in action films, and I don't mean this to come across the way it's going to come across. She is an unassuming sexy woman. Like, she is not your typical bombshell. She has a jawline that could cut a fucking diamond.
Yes.
She has eyebrows that are penciled in so heavily that they look that they were tattooed on. And she's got that wonderful beauty mark that she stole from Cindy Crawford. But she looks incredible. You see her and you're like, that's fucking Geena Davis. And she can carry a project. She's just so cool and she's so versatile. And yeah, she's really at the top of her game in everything she does. For her to be cut out of Hollywood because she turned 40, like, I feel like I hear women actors and women comedians talking a lot today about how there is a bit of a renaissance for women in the industry, how now it is possible to have roles. And honestly, thank you, Real Housewives, for allowing that to happen. Like, yeah, women are getting parts today beyond their 30s. And Geena Davis deserved that. She could have had an amazing career if we collectively didn't suck so bad in the 90s, 2000s.
Yeah, absolutely.
Some other things that I want to talk about in the plot of the film, and I think I should say now, we will be getting into spoilers. The last time I did a solo podcast, I just blurted out the finale of a TV show without thinking too far ahead. So we will be like talking about everything in this film. Thank you, Andrew, for putting in a spoiler alert for me. Anyways, so she starts to piece together who she is, that her former life, she was, a wanted woman. She hasn't really put it all together. But an assassin comes to her family home to kill her and is shooting like a shotgun at her and her daughter, blows a hole in the side of her house. Geena Davis picks up her kid, launches her through the hole in the side of the house, and the kid lands safely in the treehouse outside. I mean, what a moment of comedy that was. I guffawed. I was gobsmacked. I was floored that was in a film. A serious film.
Yeah, a serious tongue-in-cheek film.
Yeah.
So Shane Black has a sense of humor. Yeah, but no, it's a beautiful moment of unexpected action. You're like, wait, what? And you see the treehouse and you're like, oh, okay.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah.
I guess that's okay.
I guess those two were level. Suspension of disbelief.
Yeah. She crunched the numbers. She Jason Bourne this stuff. And this is, by the way, this could be a Bourne movie.
This absolutely could.
Same plot.
I mean, Amnesia, the curse of the 90s.
Especially if you're a spy or an assassin. It just kept hitting you. Just because James Bond did it once, everyone wants to be him.
James Bond did it once.
The book.
Right, yeah, of course.
You only live twice, the book. He's
Deep
an amnesiac at the end of that,
yeah.
Going into the last book, so we don't speak of.
So they're on the run, and she's packed her bags into her suitcase, and she's on the run with Hennessy, Samuel Jackson's character. They get to a motel, and she's going through her luggage, and she's like, what is in the bottom of my luggage? And she lifts like a secret compartment, and there's a full-on sniper rifle in there. Girl, no wonder your luggage was so heavy. How did you not pick that up at any time in the last 8 years and go like, without anything in this weighs about 30 pounds.
I don't think she had the luggage the whole 8 years. I think that came from the contact that Samuel L. Jackson found.
I must have looked away at some point, but I was really, truly believing.
There was plot. It's not important. But no, you're right. Like you would only need to pick it up once. There's a sniper rifle in there.
Yeah.
Should we talk about the misogyny since we're talking about the women? It seems like an apt.
It's time. We've been talking about the misogyny.
Well, we've been talking about the industry misogyny, but the misogyny in the movie, the characters, this is a movie with a female hero. So, of course, the female hero is running into men who are garbage. But, there is very specific, coded, misogynistic violence and verbalizations in this movie that, you wouldn't get that tone of dialogue from a movie with a male lead. It just wouldn't be a thing most of the time. I mean, unless they were calling someone gay or a woman. So again, still misogyny. So there's one point where a character says, a woman's face never looks as beautiful as when it's distended in pain. You're like,
oh my God, I couldn't believe that. Wow.
Yes, they're villains. They're supposed to be bad, but sexual assault is a running through line of this movie, and indeed a major plot point of this movie. And it's this was considered feminist to a degree. It's a man writing a movie for a female lead, but it was better than what went before, and yet still it had to be about sexual assault and motherhood. And it's this is good compared to what?
Yeah. yeah. The fact that she, this whole movie hinges on a sexual assault that she can't remember. And it's not really talked about, even in the film.
Yeah.
It is glossed over, and she glosses over it. She has a bit of a reconciliation of it at the end. But even then, she's not I'm doing this because of what you did to me. I'm doing this to save our child. I don't know. There were some weird terms of engagement around the idea of sexual assault in this movie. And it was 1996. So it still wasn't something that we talk about in film, I guess. but it could have been done so much better. And I feel
Yeah.
like if this movie were made today, it would be revenge on being sexually assaulted.
Yeah, yeah. Apparently, there was a whole storyline about Samuel L. Jackson's character also having been SA'd, as they say on YouTube, in prison,
Mm.
and they considered that too dark for the movie. It's like, okay,
Well,
it is too
bits of it
dark
are
for the
still
movie,
in
but
there.
right,
I and
it's
I
very
did
underplayed.
appreciate that, actually, and I think it is very underplayed. Yes, you're right, but
You,
I
as
like that.
most people would miss that it happened. Like they made it, they obscured it, I would say, in the final.
Yeah, totally, totally. But the bits that did survive, even I caught on, having never seen this movie and knowing nothing about it, but
Right.
maybe being a queer person who has had experiences, then I could see the through line. Like his
Mhm.
introduction, he's talking about, we'll use the term essay because I think that is appropriate, but he's talking about that happening in prison. And then about midway through the film, he admits that he was in prison for 4 years. And then at the end of the film, we see him, for lack of better terms, imprisoned by these terrorists. And he is clearly having like a deep traumatic response to that.
Mhm.
And he's lying naked. And I mean, clearly there was something cut out there, which binds that
Yeah,
all together. And you telling me that makes it all incredibly clear. And I feel
yeah.
justified in how I saw his character in this film.
Should we transition to the boys, or is there? We're already
Uh,
talking about Sam Jackson, and he is the boy.
yeah, I guess so. I just the last bit about Geena Davis. I mean, she is such a babe. She at the start of the movie, she says, "Well, you know, I lost those 8 years of my life, but when I look at myself in the mirror, I see a 35-year-old woman, and if she's 35, then so am I."
She was 40, I think, when she made this
She was
film,
40 when this film was made.
and that's good, Shane. Actually, being
Yeah, well,
40.
yes, I look, I'm not there yet, but I agree. I think I'm going to hit my stride when I do eventually hit my 40s. And like she's still a beautiful woman, but I mean, look, I
Misogyny.
have eyes and I did not see a 35-year-old woman in this film. Sorry. Scary Mommy though is still really hot. And we did get a classic Bond line in this film that she is a relic of the Cold War.
Yes,
She's a
a
dinosaur, baby.
misogynistic dinosaur. uh, maybe not that. Maybe not that.
Maybe not that. Okay, let's talk about the boys. And my God, so many boys.
It's peak Sam Jackson. Like he's playing the swaggering, streetwise PI with a heart of gold. Like perfect Sam Jackson role, and one that he like uh, years after would say like this was his favorite role to play. I mean,
Wow.
he probably had 20 years of career since he said that, so I don't know if that's still true, but certainly at the time, he was very proud of this role in this movie, as was everyone involved in it.
Mm-hmm.
And he gets to be very like he delivers a lot of cute lines. He gets to play the curmudgeonly ally. He's great. He has so many good lines. He's such a great counterbalance to Charlie, both versions of Charlie. So yeah, it's definitely a two-hander movie. And guess what? They were going to cast this with a white character, and Shane Black
No
said no.
shit.
So this was going to be a movie about two white men at one point, and probably it would have done better.
Well, yeah, for sure.
Hollywood,
Sylvester Stallone and Steven Seagal.
yes.
You know, I guess this is my misogyny poking through. I didn't age check
Again,
Samuel L. Jackson on this film, and I kind of want to do that right now.
he was 35.
No, definitely not.
I don't think Sam Jackson has ever been 35. I think
Oh
he
my
has
God,
just remained fixed at
he is my father's age. Like he's 1 year
now.
older than my father now. Well, and then,
Yeah, because he done that.
but the more Sam Jackson ages, the more Sam Jackson looks like my father, which is very concerning to me. So if he was born in 1948, would he have been 48 years old at the time of this?
Okay.
I thought he looked fucking great.
Oh yeah.
I thought he was kind of hot and sexy in this, to be completely honest. When he took off his shirt and he has that like fur, like from here to here, and I don't know, he's svelte, and yeah, he was doing it for me, and that felt like a first for me.
Looks like my dad, kind of sexy.
What have I done? Walked myself into that one so badly. Okay, well,
honey.
This has been Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. I'm going to go myself.
I can't wait for your mom to watch this one.
No! I'm crying. I'm actually crying.
Let's talk about the other hot men.
Let's talk about the other. Yeah. John Mendez plays. Oh, I was gonna save Craig Bierko for last.
Okay, let's save Craig Bierko.
John Mendez plays Hal, not Charlie. Her other name's husband or boyfriend, I guess.
Sam. Yeah.
Sam.
Yeah.
And he is like comfy core. He wears lots of neutral, muted sweaters. He seems like a lovely man. He's handsome. I wouldn't say he's hot. He's handsome.
Dadcore, 90s dadcore, you know, Jewish intellectual kind of hotness. Like, yeah, he's not schlubby. That would be unfair, but he's safe, I think, is the vibe.
Yeah, and a more damning condemnation of his character I've never heard. I don't want a safe boyfriend.
He's not the stepdad. He's the dad who stepped up.
Brian Cox is also in this of 007 Road to a Million fame.
Yes, certainly his best known role.
Yeah, absolutely.
Logan who?
And he was fun. I thought he was going to be more than a bit part. And the movie built him up to be more than a bit part. He's like this. He's the second act character, I guess.
Yeah. Booster. I mean, does this further tie this into the Bourne movies? You know, could he be
if he
playing
didn't die in the second act, then yeah, absolutely.
Well, just need to rewrite.
Just a couple.
David Morse as well has a little role in here as a sort of, he's the unfussy man's Russell Crowe. It's what I would always say about David Morse. Like, he can get it, but I would be thinking of peak 90s Russell Crowe while he was getting it, you know? He's handsome. Yeah. He's attractive.
Mm-hmm.
It's fine.
He could get it. Yeah, and I feel like David Morse was in everything at one point, like on every TV show, made a little cameo in every movie. He's one of those guys that like you just remember. He's got that baby face, but he always ends up playing a real asshole or brutal character.
Right. Yeah. No exception here.
A shout out to Harry, the CIA aide, who is very cute in a 90s way. He has a couple scenes, and I think he gets run over by a car at the very end of the film. Aw.
Poor Harry.
Poor Harry.
But let's get to the meat of this conversation.
The meat. Young Craig Bierko. Swoon.
So pretty. Like the eyelashes, the cheekbones.
Those
he's got
big,
this sort of nice vibro energy. Big psychotic blue eyes. Yeah, he really is good at playing that sort of, that guy who you want to trust because he's so hot, but you know you shouldn't trust him because he's so hot. You know, he's perfect for this role. And I think I just assumed he was going to be a bigger star than I think he ended up being. Like he's worked solidly, I think, since this movie, but he never quite became like a big name. You know, there was a part of me that thought maybe he was famous before this movie, but not really, actually. This is one of his biggest roles.
Wow.
Justice for Craig
Was he in Sex and the City for a while?
He was, yes. He was one of...
He played the jazz musician that Carrie dated for like 4 episodes. I know this because I just did a rewatch of Sex and the City because for some reason, and just like that, didn't scratch the itch that I was hoping it would, believe it or not. So I had to go back to the source material.
Fair. Was he hot in Sex and the City?
He was hotter in this.
Musician?
He was hot. His character, like every character in Sex and the City, was very problematic, or at least he was treated problematically. His big character flaw was that he had ADHD, and Carrie just couldn't get over that. And now everyone has ADHD. Probably Carrie has AD. It was just some self-hate internalized. You know what? He's a little thicker in Sex and the City in a nice way, but here he's like maybe 30 years old and he's got that lean 30-year-old actor's body that,
Mhm.
I mean, just kind of does it for everyone, I think.
Everyone agrees. I was worried to look him up to see like who he was now because he seemed like the sort of person that might have become like a Scott Baio, like Trumpy kind of guy. He's firmly anti-Trump, pro-union, so we
Thank
celebrate him a
God.
great deal now for being one of the good ones.
Thank God. Honestly, we've lost so many
So
good stars
many,
from the
so many.
90s to the disease of Trumpism.
Yeah. It's a pipeline, and
Yeah.
well, it's a sewage line.
Yeah. Well, a bit of one of the other. Let's talk about the music, I guess.
Yeah, let's talk about the music. I mean, there's no theme song,
No,
really, but there's some great needle drops.
I wrote the same thing. I agree, especially Lady Marmalade during the transformation scene from Sam to Charlie.
Yeah, that's very well used. A bit of Patti LaBelle back when she used lyrics. We have Many Rivers to Cross, which is one of my favorite songs. So love to hear that. She's Not There by The Last, another like
Great. Love
iconic
that song.
90s song. A lot of Christmas music, unfortunately. Fade
Yeah.
Black is always, you're always going to hear a lot of jingle jangle going on in the background in these movies.
It
Shane
just
Black
feels
likes that more
so
than I do.
unnecessary. Why? I can't get over it. Why does it need to be set at Christmas? Why? So I can't verbalize it, but it does nothing to add to the story whatsoever. And I say
Mhm.
this about all of his films now, all three of the ones that I can remember and have seen. This, Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, and Iron Man 3. None of it feels necessary. And it just like kind of takes you out of the story of the film because it's adding on this extra layer that doesn't pay off in any meaningful way. The doll that the daughter gets in this film that ends up being a MacGuffin that frees them from a locked door. And yeah, you heard that right. It's like,
That's
did
screenwriting, Shane.
that's screenwriting. Did it need to be a Christmas gift? No, she could have just been holding on to her dolly for dear life the entire time. I don't
Yeah,
know.
it's fair.
It bugs me. And I'm getting so distracted from the music.
I'm just
As
glad that we're saying Merry Christmas again, Shane. That's all, you know?
my God. My God.
It's finally safe to say it.
All right, Scott Baio. Love the last track of the credits, Woman, and I can't remember who
Nina
performs it.
Cherry.
Nina Cherry. Very like classic, I guess it's like jazzy, loungy, trip
Trip
hoppy.
hop.
Yeah. And that is like late 90s to a T, but it kind of
Yes.
holds up.
Yeah, no, actually, like Woman by Nina Cherry is a great track. Like the other closing track is Tracy Bonham singing. I didn't even write down the name of the song. That's how little I enjoyed it. It was very like Lilith Fair alt rock of
We
its
just
time.
eliminated a segment of our viewership with that one.
Hey, I have several Sarah McLachlan CDs, which I never listen to because I never listen to CDs, but I have them. I love Katie Lang, but this song was not it. But then
No,
Nina Cherry
agreed.
came on, and I'm like, yes, let's groove into this. Beautiful. Spanish Boy also shout out, like that's a recurring motif of the movie is Sam
Mm,
Jackson singing Manish Boy,
yeah.
which is itself a sort of you know a very political song. So for that to be a motif of the movie maybe says something about Sam Jackson's character and how he feels he's been degraded by society. In this essay, I will say.
Not SA.
No, not essay.
All right. Shall we move on to the fashion?
Losing the thread. Yes, let's go on to that.
Speaking of losing the thread, let's talk about the fashion.
Let's talk about 90s cinema again, where no one
Woof.
wears anything that will confuse the cameras. Everything will be brown. Everything will merge and blend into everything else.
Sweaters of many fabrics and few colors, except for Brian Cox's yellow
Yes.
turtleneck, which stands the fuck out in a sea of grays and navies and blacks, and eventually gets transferred to Sam Jackson, who it seems to fit perfectly.
Very stretchy material.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's wearing a yellow turtleneck under a moss green cardigan when we first meet Brian Cox's character, and like, yes, sweat on sweat. It's just
I love my
real
Brian
heavy
Cox
on the
is sweaty.
knitwear.
Yeah. Love some sweaty Cox. Demonetized.
Really going to have to be
See
careful writing the subtitles for this one. A lot of knits for Geena Davis's character as well. Like, it's just
Yeah,
knitwear central. It's Christmas. Everyone
it's
in
Christmas.
knitwear, as the Gap ads used to say.
Yeah. Some great 90s Toronto aesthetic for those of us who lived
Yes.
here in the 90s. It was great to see the Byway sign flash by on the street and Honest Ed's as a casino.
Yeah, a Jersey casino. Amazing. That's
And
heritage.
isn't that what it was? A Jersey casino.
Yeah, yeah. To those not familiar with Honest Ed's, it was a huge department store that was all like fell off the back of a truck type stuff. Like, it was all very clearance,
Everything was
bootleggy kind of
99
vibes.
cents or 149. Yeah.
And they sold everything, like,
Everything.
sweaters on one floor and kitchen gadgets on another floor, and then like weird African masks that someone had brought back on another. Like, there was just some weird international tourist things in certain areas. Wild store that sadly got destroyed to make a condo, as everything else in Toronto has been.
Yes.
But also, like, it was a great landmark, and Ed was a great friend to the migrant population of Toronto. He offered legal services out of Honest Ed's as well. So, yeah, you could get everything there, including a visa.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, God, it's so hard to describe to non-Torontonians what an institution that was and how important it was to the identity and fabric of the city when we were known as the Great Melting Pot. And I was recently on a trip to Vancouver, and it came up in conversation there how much of a melting pot Toronto still is. And I don't know if that's even a good thing anymore. It's kind of like we're saying you must be part of this culture to be accepted.
Right.
Whereas I feel the reality is actually Toronto has a lot of little pockets of cultures existing, but the idea that they can all exist in this one space was kind of embodied by that Honest Ed's aesthetic, and it is sorely missed, because you're right, everything that made this city kind of world famous has been bulldozed to put up another 60-story steel and glass structure.
With no one living in it.
Yeah, that are just
investment
Airbnb
properties.
rentals. Yeah.
So, the fashion.
Wow, we have gone so off track on every single part of this episode. Let's talk about Geena Davis again. That bottle blonde, coon-eyed, pale pink lip fashion of the 90s. It still works. It's so good. When she gets out of the shower, having freshly chopped her hair with some scissors and put in like L'Oreal #1 blonde, and it is orange. Her hair is orange. That was the height of fashion. And my God, do I know a bunch of gays who are still doing the same thing.
Still trying to hit that
Cut
high.
to me last year. Yeah.
It's 90s fashion at its peak, because she is, she's got like that chic edge to her. She is it's confidence. Yeah, the hair is so chopped. The lip is such a strong pink. Like, you think of red as being a strong color, but somehow the pink is just like, and then she wears that belted jacket with the like duct tape X over a bullet hole. It's like, oh yeah, this is the whole like Tank Girl meets the Matrix kind of aesthetic.
Totally.
Add a pair of white ice skates and you've got a look,
Damn it, that's exactly it. Somehow the white figure skates makes it cohesive. Who knew that those would come back in the third act?
Shane Black knew. Shane Black always.
Yeah, Christmas.
And yet she like turns to Sam Jackson's character when she's like recovered herself as Charlie and says, "Look at my inordinately large ass," complaining about the sort of the diet and lack of exercise of her life as a housewife. And it's like, come on, this woman has never had a large ass.
We literally see her naked in the shower.
Yeah.
and she has the perfect body. Like there
The
in
90s
the
was the worst time for women's bodies. Like, it was
honestly.
just grotesque the way that we talk about women's bodies then.
Thank
And I
God
know
you
people are going
say
to say,
that
well, it's
it's the
bad
way we
now.
talked about them.
People are going to be at home saying, no, it's bad now. Yes, it is bad now, but the 90s was special in how bad it was. Like, it was
Yeah.
just the nadir of how we talked about women's bodies. Grotesque.
I mean, we get a catcalling scene with Sam Jackson in his introduction to Sam's character, and he turns to her and says, "You got a pretty face, but that body is banging out there." And it's like, is it the reverse?
You didn't have a problem with the dialogue. It was the selection criteria that you were.
I am canceling myself in every single way I can today. You know what? If you're gonna go in on something, go hard. I heard it.
Let's talk also, try and get it back on track a little bit.
Good luck.
Charlie also has a third outfit that we need to talk about. The transition from housewife sweats to assassin chic is this sheer, well, it becomes sheer white slip that she is wearing when she's dunked in the water and her memory comes back. She's being tortured by the villains. She's just wearing this slip and it is clinging to her body. And it is both the most modest housewifey garment and the most sort of slutty, sexy outfit at the same time. Like, it's such brilliant bit of like fashion casting.
Yeah, absolutely. And it probably wasn't meant to be, but it feels referenced in the very final frame of the movie when she is free and living on the farm and she's just wearing like a nice white dress. It's like
Right.
it's like that transition that she found in the torture scene has become her identity. I am
Yeah.
both Sam and
Synthesis.
Charlie. It's the synthesis. It's kind of perfect. So yeah, great point. I loved the slip as well, and she wears it fantastically.
So we talk about the queerness of this movie. How short was this
I
conversation?
don't think
Well, it depends what we
Charlie
end up talking
cares.
about.
Right. I don't think Charlie cares much for men.
Fair. Very fair. I mean, why would she? You know? You've seen what she's been through.
Yeah, there's definitely Geena Davis's characters kind of always toe that line, right? They're kind of boyish roles,
Yeah.
but she's hyper feminine. Like she sits somewhere in between there.
Yeah, she has an androgynous look, but it's not in that sort of neither one thing nor the other. It's both in her case.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
she has such a masculine structure to her face, but such a feminine beauty, the lips, the eyes, the hair, that she's very, very distinct. And yeah, her androgyny is statement rather than evasion, shall we say.
Yes, exactly. There was a great recent episode of Star Trek Strange New Worlds where we are reintroduced to these celestial beings called the Metrons who speak in both masculine and feminine voices at the same time and embody that very androgyny. It's like, this is a very masculine presenting man with an incredibly feminine sounding voice and feminine features to their face. And I feel like Geena Davis could be a Metron.
I mean, if she's looking for work, why not? The queerest thing about this movie for me, I've got to say, repression. Repression, hotness, the intersectionality of going from repression to hotness, rejecting conventional American domesticity. Like, there's a journey there that's very queer, very queer.
Yeah. We've all been through that journey in this community. Yep. You said it, not me. Not the only one getting canceled today.
The other queer thing I want to call out, tough mothering. Life is pain, get used to it, she says to her daughter.
Yeah, said every mother to every gay son ever.
Honestly, I felt so seen in that daughter's quivering eyes when Geena Davis was like, shut up.
Flashback to my mom in Lunenburg, Nova Scotia, telling me to be a man and eat this raw shellfish that this fisherman just brought into the harbor, and me spending the rest of the day on a toilet. Thanks, Mom. Never gonna let you forget that.
Did the fisherman say that was okay, or just your mother's?
He was some random guy offering fucking raw scallops to people on the docks. No one should have said yes to that. It's crazy. It wasn't washed. He's like, it's fine. And shucks open some shell that I'd never seen before, cut something out.
Oh,
My mom says, go on, Shane. Be a man. Try one. Love you, Kim.
that's what we ended up talking about in this section.
The thread has fallen apart.
So yes, there is queerness in this film. There is stuff that resonates. It's not a texturally queer film, unfortunately.
No. I mean, Hennessy was definitely drawing dicks in his notebook and then no, it's a duck.
Yeah, but straight men love dick. I mean, it's just a fact.
Oh, yeah. Oh my God. We gotta finish this before more comes out.
It's not even that long an episode. It's just insane.
This movie has made me insane.
Yeah, fair. All right, what are we going to rate this movie? So we give every movie a score from 0 to 5, and then we award bonuses for the women, the boys, the music, the fashion, queerness, and we can also apply a penalty if the movie is egregious in some way. So we're going to start with the base scores. What are you giving this out of 5?
I'm going to give this a 4. I thought this was a great film, not perfect. The third act was long, and my God, I feel like I say that in every film we've ever talked about, but but it just kind of meandered a little meaninglessly at points. However, I was engaged the entire time. I thought it was funny. I thought the action was great, and the performances were wonderful. I think this is an underappreciated film.
Yeah, we should say, the third act is so long. Like, this movie is like 2.5 hours or something. Maybe it isn't. It just feels like it is. Like, the third act is way too long. And I'm going to give it a 3, but I'm holding an asterisk there. I might revise when we see how the final scores play out.
Okay.
But I think 3 still means I liked it a lot.
Yes.
3 still means I liked it. And I am giving it a point for Geena Davis, even though she's almost the only woman in the whole movie. I mean, yes, there's the daughter as well, and the daughter gets to do her thing. A small child being annoying, but also getting to play an active role in the plot.
She's got
fine,
that
whatever.
his daughter lisp that only children in the 90s have. But mommy, what is happening?
Yes, at least Geena Davis gets to play like a diversity of roles. She's playing 2 women and the transition between them. They don't get to talk. Actually, they do get to talk to each other. Does this pass the Bechdel test?
Oh, yeah. There's a lot of mirror scenes in this, Andrew.
Yeah, I think this does pass the Bechdel test. Charlie talks to Sam about Sam.
Wow.
That does it for me.
Yeah, yeah. Perfect. You know what? This is a 5-star movie. It's getting 10 points. No notes.
And then
I'm going to... Oh, Jesus. I'm also going to give it the point for Geena Davis. Doing incredible work. Are you going to give the boys a point?
Tempted to give Craig Bierko the point, but he's not framed really as sexy, apart from maybe that scene where he comes into the bar and flirts with her. And I was ready to go home with him in that moment. But also, then, yes, he's a creep throughout the entire film. So yeah, I'm gonna say no.
Oh,
Sam Jackson, I'm not as attracted to your dad as you are. So
I hate you. Well, now I feel like I can't give it the point, so I won't. Laugh all you want, my friend. You'll have yours one day.
Hey, my parents are dead, so it's fine.
I think I'm gonna choke.
They can't get to me anymore.
I feel so hot.
Oh, we have to record another one after this.
Yay. What is that going to bring out in me? What dark secrets am I going to reveal about myself? How do you feel about the music?
The music, no. There's some great tracks in there, but anyone can put great music in a movie.
Yeah, I feel we're in the needle drop era. I don't feel the need to give this a point.
I think my ear canals are sweating these damn things out of my head. Fashion.
Tough.
90s kids will remember we didn't have any fashion.
Yeah, I feel like there's statements in this film, and I feel like parts of it resonated to me as a kid from Toronto in the 90s.
Right.
But I am not a sweater person, so I don't think I can give this a fashion point. It wasn't pushing any boundaries for me, and no one looked particularly hot.
You're wearing a sweater right now.
But that is for the bit.
Okay, fair enough. It's the only one you own. This is where I'm going to scrape one back. I just think the Charlie makeover for me is sufficiently like striking and speaks to the fashion of the era. I think that's a great movie, just character look with the white figure skates, obviously. Like,
Of course.
You got to accessorize the white figure skates and the duct tape across. That's it. Peak. So I'm going to give it the fashion point.
Okay, I like that. I think that's a good compromise.
I'm not going to give it a queerness point because it's texturally not that queer.
Yeah, part of me wants to be generous, but yeah, it's just not in the text, and so therefore I've got to stick to my own standards. No, it doesn't get a queer point, which unfortunately makes this a very middle of the road film at a solid 5.
Yeah.
But we always talk about at the end, like, does the score reflect how we feel about the film? No, I think this is a film worth watching.
Yeah. I think, honestly, a 5 in our scoring system is usually a good sign, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Once you get to 5, you're okay.
Look, we used to do this out of 7, and it was so fucked up that, like, we just, like, we could barely give 1 point to so many films. This feels generous.
Yeah.
And yet we've still
baby.
fucked up the scoring system somehow.
It's specific. It's not wrong, it's specific.
Now that's queer. I just remembered this, and I feel like I can't not have this in the episode of the podcast. Did this film predict 9/11? You know what I'm talking about. At the end of the film, for some reason, and I just have to go back to my notes, but there is literally a point in the film where they say, budget cuts. Is that what this is about? And I'm like, is it? And then they suggest that they need to boost like CIA defense spending by doing an inside job at the World Trade Center.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That happened. Sorry,
well,
I'm not saying that that's what happened at the World Trade Center. I'm saying that happened in this film. Anyways, there's this documentary on YouTube that I think everyone should watch. Okay, now I've officially canceled myself.
About the flat Earth theory.
You think we need to end this episode before I just do something terrible?
I certainly do not think that any US administration would stage any kind of violent act to further their own political aims. I just don't think that would happen.
And on
Thanks
that
so
note,
much for watching. Please like and subscribe. If you enjoyed this episode, seek help. Tell a friend.
What have we done?
We gotta go now. Thank you so much. Here's Kiss.
Bang, bang. I'm ashamed of us.
Best episode ever.
If you enjoyed this video, please click the like button and subscribe to this channel. You can follow Kiss Kiss Bang Bang on Instagram, TikTok, Blue Sky, and Letterboxd at KKBBpod, or email us at kisskissbangbangpod@gmail.com.
Kiss Kiss Bang Bang is recorded in Toronto on the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabeg, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples.